Welcome to the show, Brain Health, Unchaining Your Pain. And I am really, really excited to have Chris Ross on the show with me today on episode 13, just before Christmas. And I know this is going to go out after Christmas, but super excited to have you here. Chris Ross is the founder and CEO of Winjet, and he's really helped me put this show on the road and make it the success it is just before Christmas. And we reached our target, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. You called it, and I was actually pretty amazed by that. You know, obviously with the website people, they were putting like where they strip all the numbers and they pull it off of different all platforms of downloads and streams. And you called it. Right before Christmas, I'm gonna hit 1 million downloads. I was like, okay, we'll see what happens. And then boom. I was like, that was pretty cool. But yeah, thanks for having me on. The lucky number 13. Everything I do is unconventional, right? So it's all good.
So I thought we'd take the opportunity in this episode for those that are listening and also watching to really reflect on the last 12 weeks before Christmas. Mm-hmm. And the reason I came up with this is not just because it's 12 weeks, but it's a really poignant reminder of the fact that my daughter was 12 days late and born on Christmas Day. My daughter's Lily. So there's a kind of a bit of a joke in the background there for the 12 weeks. 12
it's
days
a very
late.
Significant number for you, for sure. How is Lily? Is Lily ready for Christmas?
She's been so ready. She's just like, Mummy, when I've opened my advent calendar, it's my birthday. So the poor lady, she's got the longest wait to any child because she's got that huge build up.
When is her birthday?
On Christmas Day.
Is it Christmas Day? Oh wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Well. Yeah, I was the Christmas cracker.
Yeah.
I always said I'm going to be a Christmas cracker. I didn't realize I was literally going to be the Christmas cracker.
You're calling everything this year. Yeah, because it's one of my favorite things to do on social. We were just actually having a conversation about this. I have a block schedule in my mornings to focus on certain things to keep me focusing. That way I'm able to accomplish my task for the day. And I have 15 minutes for social media where I'm actually responding, engaging with people. And it's actually me. It's not my staff. But it's one of my favorite things to do is to click on your page and get to watch the Lily clips. I can't wait. It's like my favorite part. She's so cute.
We'll try and do something before Christmas, but kids are so unpredictable. It's so difficult to try and get them to do anything. So
Right.
So let's have a deep dive, shall we, into the 12 weeks before Christmas. And I know we had awesome Jess Lee on the episode initially. She was the first episode 1. And she really hit the road with talking about her brain health and what it really meant to her.
Yeah. And it was real quick, I'm going to cut you off. I want to touch on this. And this show was a challenge when this show came about and when we met, and it was kind of funny how we met. And then obviously what you've done for me personally. And when you've relieved me in unchaining some of the pain that I was harboring and holding on to for a very, very long time. And I was looked at it in a different perspective. And then, of course, I'm the kind of person when I walk into a room, I'm going to find the opportunities and I'm going to find the positive things. And I knew what I was building with the Winjet. And I was like, oh, I have a show. I have a show idea. And this show was a challenge because I knew how hard it was going to be to distribute and then also display the trauma in a certain way for people to really understand that you're not alone out there in the world. So this show for me, it was a personal challenge, but it was also a way of showing the world that it can be done, because there's a lot of confidentiality stuff. And there's very uncommon. You see a show that does extremely well like this. And I think it's also a testament on how well you are at what you do for a living. And you've heard me say this in a numerous occasion, especially even inside the community. I shine a light on some of the things that you do unconsciously. Right? I gave you some, not tips, but just to shine a light on it. And it was like, you were like, wait a minute, I do that.
I do.
But those show that you create an environment for people to really truly feel safe.
Yeah.
And they are able to share so much. And I just want to say that publicly, that was just, it's amazing to watch.
Thank you. And I really appreciate that feedback. And for those listening, you know, it's been a huge journey for me. Thanks, Paula. That's my sister-in-law. Great.
Oh, hello.
Listening from us. It's
That's
either my mum or my
Dave's sister.
The same name.
Dave's sister?
No, my sister-in-law.
Oh, okay, good. All right,
yeah, or my mum. It's difficult to know because they're both called the same. So thank you. Yeah, it's really nice that you said that, but it's been a real journey for me personally to get to be able to create that safe space for people, because it's such an important thing to do. And I felt that we are in a world where people don't create the safe space to have open and honest conversations and to be able to do the deep work on themselves, because we're either too busy or people have different agendas, you know.
True.
And it, you know, that lack of safe space was really evident when I was working in the corporate world, and I know we talked about this on your show. And when you are in a huge amount of pain, the only way you can really unchain it effectively is to feel safe, to do the unchaining, to do the deep work on yourself. And if that safety isn't present, our amygdala is activated, which is
100%,
you know, part of our fight-flight response. So you'll never be able to unchain the pain when you're in an escape mode, whatever that mode, you know, that escape mechanism that you choose it to be. And I think it's something that we massively miss in today's society, to allow people that opportunity to be vulnerable. And often vulnerability is our greatest strength. And I know, you know, this show is courtesy of my dad, really, because if I hadn't lost him, I'm going to have to haven this.
I was already doing it with my hands. I'm like, see a show there.
Yeah, if I hadn't lost him and had to go through the unchaining my own pain, this show wouldn't be here. So super.
He's watching. He's watching, that's for sure. And that's not to get obviously personal. I just wanted to shine a light on, this is not as easy as it looks. You know, because I mean, there's a lot of misconceptions of why to start a show. Should I start a show? It takes a lot of courage. I mean, this is a different way for people that have been around you for you to display your talents and skills and really show what you're all about. And you're really here. I think that podcasting and the way that a show needs to be distributed, it is different for every single person and every outcome that you're looking for. And there's a driving factor behind everything. And for yourself, it was your father of going through that. And that's how I feel about what I particularly do for a living, and especially even in this entity of Winject Studios. I see things in people that they typically don't see. And that's one of my superpowers, is seeing potential in individuals and knowing what's available on the outside of that, if they're willing to go through that pain. Yeah. And that was something that I was holding on to for a very long time, because I felt that I was good enough to even still go through it and go through my day. And that 10% part of me, I was holding on to because I wasn't ready to address it yet.
Yeah.
And just like this, I think it's a way for you to still go through your healing process, because if you're never healed, it's a healing process every day, just like everything else. So you actually working through the show and really helping people through their stories, their perspectives, when they see the way they see the world isn't the way that particularly you see the world. Everybody has a different perspective, and everyone has different talents and skills. And that's what's so great about especially this show, not just any show out there. You're giving them a different way of looking at their situation, and they go, wait a minute. Because I'm going to be honest with you, when I listen to shows, I don't listen for what they're saying. I'm listening for different, maybe even some of the cues that people don't normally pick up on. And I think that we've discovered this through some of the episodes. I watched every single one, that there's a lot of unresolved trauma.
Absolutely, there is. Yeah, you can hear it.
You can hear it. And of course, this is where we go. I instantly go to compassion with it. And because I can't hold on to that. And I'm watching the clips and I'm watching the episodes, because that's my job as the executive producer to figure out, how do we distribute this the right way? I mean, this person needs to go in front of this one. This person needs to go in. It's there's a lot of thought process that comes behind this. And there's a lot of, even through these 12 episodes, and there's so many more that we already have coming up. And I'm so excited for what's going to happen.
Me too. There's some amazing
stories. But anyways, but I just wanted to obviously started off with that, and I don't know how much time. I don't have anything behind us for a little while, so we're good to go. But yeah, the first, we talked about Jess Lee. Jess Lee, another example. I met Jess Lee about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And we met just in passing. My staff was looking for guests for season 3 of the Win-Win Effect. And it was the first season outside of the deal that I brokered for, obviously, the trade schools in America of teaching people the methodology of what I do. And they reached out and we got in contact. And then I met, it's like when you met people, right? And then you go and the energies meet and you're like, whoa, this person's been through a lot.
Yeah.
She didn't even tell me. And I felt it because commonality, right? I mean, obviously, if someone's been through a lot of trauma, then you can pick up on that pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And her story, in her episode, when we recorded it, it was only audio. It was so deep. Did you listen to that episode? It was so deep.
I did. I think I listened to it. Yeah, it was really good.
It was such a great story. And then, of course, that's how another thing, the idea came up with Winjet. It popped in my head of people trying to hurt her in the music industry and trying to get her to conform and dye her hair and wear skimpy clothing. And it's not about her morals and what she's trying to accomplish and not what she wants to do. And that's kind of goes back to this. And then her story was it's so deep, especially she came in hot right from the beginning of her perspective of what optimal brain health means. That's
she did.
Great opening question.
She was on fire.
On fire. I was like, whoa, here we go. Because like me personally, it was kind of like an accomplishment of myself because I matchmaked it. I was like, yes, I can't wait for this to happen.
And you know what I really loved about that show is that and we see this a lot across many of the episodes, but hers is particularly shone the light on it, is the fact that her escape mechanism from the trauma has become her superpower. And she's really taken that experience and I can talk many people such as Charlie Smith and Chris Parsons, their escape became their superpower to become the success they are today, or one of their escape mechanisms anyway. And she's just such a phenomenal voice, and such a phenomenal mission beyond just her voice. That's what I think is so powerful about her story, is the fact that she's taken that experience and she's reflected this in some of her songs as well.
She has. You should hear some of the new ones going to be coming out. Oh my gosh.
And her voice is like, she's like, for me, she'll probably hate me for saying this, maybe. But for me, she's the Beyonce of country.
Oh, she would love that compliment. And I would actually agree with that. She's got one of those voices. You can literally feel her emotion.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's polarizing. Like Jess Lee, obviously manager, and boyfriend, Steve Virginia, is also my manager. And her show, the Jess Lee Road Show, broke over 4 million downloads in the first season, just for everyone to know. But that's how all this came about. But Steve was saying she's bigger than country music. And I was 100% agreement with that. She's genreless. She's truly genreless. She could sing any song, but I think what is her superpower, she needs to be emotionally connected to that song, and it makes her powerful. So shout out to Jess Lee. Love you. Merry Christmas to her family. They're all in Florida right now, but yeah, can't wait for obviously what's to come of the beautiful Jess Lee.
Yeah, and I really am excited for her future based on, what she's already accomplished.
And shout out to her mom as well. Her mom is so powerful. So powerful. Like her whole family, she's multifaceted, and you can tell if you just spend the time and invest the time to really get a gauge of her energy, and you see that she has the capacity to take it anywhere you want to take it.
Yeah. And you know what also is really poignant about the show, that particular episode, is she's really done the deep work on herself.
Yes, she had to. She had no choice.
You can tell it in a voice, you can tell it in a passion, you can tell it in the power that she's truly unchained her pain, or seems to have unchained her pain, and is really, we sometimes call it post-traumatic growth. If she's leveraged the trauma and turned it on its head and used it to propel her forward and to achieve something extraordinary, despite what's happened or because of what's happened, depending on what way you want to look at it.
I don't know if you would agree with this, but I was thinking about this, I think it was like 2 days ago. Tend to reflect on your life towards the end of the weeks, and when your things start slowing down, when you're not getting hit from every direction, known to man in business, right? But I was thinking about when it comes to unresolved trauma and things that you continue to keep discovering.
Yeah.
Just like as a healing process. And I think that's why they say it that way, because you're never healed, because you're always going to discover something new.
Yeah.
Like I'm starting to relive certain events that have happened in my life and looking at it in a different perspective than the way I've ever seen it before. And that's also just coming through some of the techniques that you've taught me.
Yeah.
I'm like, and then now there's no emotional charge to that. And I think that's something that's going to be beautiful to watch with her artistry, is that her being able to, she's a great writer, phenomenal writer.
Yeah.
Her giving people a different way of looking at the way the world is.
Yeah.
And she's just like, she's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how do you feel about that? Like there's the unresolved trauma, but you keep discovering more.
You do. Yeah. And it depends on how the trauma's encoded in your mind.
Okay.
So sometimes you can unlock it. If you think of trauma like a tree, and the seed can get planted early on in life, or it can get planted any time in your life, but let's just say it's planted early on, and then that tree grows and it grows branches. And so if you tap into one of the branches of the tree, then you can end up tracing its line back to the root of the tree.
That's powerful. I like that analogy. I think that's another thing, the reason why I love what you do. You use a lot of analogies. And I love that, because it gives them it takes the emotion out of it.
Yeah.
Of the point of view conversation. Because if you're stuck on a point of view conversation, if you don't use an analogy, they feel like you're convincing them of something.
Yeah.
So that's another thing where you do it unconsciously, you don't realize you do it.
Thank you. Yeah. I think it's so important, because I've come from a physics background, and not many people understand physics. So you have to break it down into things that people can understand, and I often use analogies, because otherwise everything just goes straight over people's
right.
to kind of catch it.
They're like, what was that? I like to do that in speeches. Yeah, when I'm actually speaking in front of audiences, I like to do things like that and drop it on one side of the room and then come back, and then I'll see them catch it. I'm like,
so talking about analogies and sort of simplicity, I think one of the things I've really enjoyed on the show is leveraging the framework that we use to kind of tease out the 5 pillars of brain health. So this is the framework I use within my coaching, and within the Wellbeing Academy, the Wellbeing Warrior Academy, is is we look at the 5 pillars of brain health, which is, remember, body, mnemonic, facts.
Yes.
And facts, and you and me military, or you're ex-military, is we always need good, easy mnemonics to remember, because otherwise it's difficult, isn't it? So FACT stands for feelings, F is for feelings, A is for actions, C is for connections to ourselves and to others, T is for thoughts, and S is for surroundings. And those 5 pillars are really like fundamentals that help us optimize our brain health. And if you haven't got control of all of those or awareness of all of those, then you can't truly optimize your unique brain, because if one's missing, then you are missing that opportunity for optimization. And it's really, what I found really interesting is to see how they show up, how these 5 pillars really show up in people's lives, and particularly in the context of trauma, unresolved trauma, and how, our surroundings can trigger trauma. Because we are not separate from our surroundings. Our brain is shaped by our surroundings, and that's 100%. The 5th pillar. And so what you talked about, sometimes things come up from our past. Well, sometimes they can come up because a smell or a sight or a sound or a particular piece of furniture, whatever it may be, has triggered that memory from our past, that perhaps because we had such a cluttered mind previously, or emotionally charged mind, we were blind to see it. But now we can see it, which gives us access to memories that perhaps
That's interesting. That's a very interesting perspective when it comes to your surroundings. Me knowing what I know now through investigating that part in times in my life, I would be very curious to go back home next time. And I haven't been back home, obviously COVID and all this other personal reasons, and me being in the UK, but going back in those type of surroundings and seeing what I've done now, and obviously going through and just the healing process and going back to those surroundings. And I'm pretty sure a slew of things will come up. Just because
and we find that with people recovering from trauma is that, when you have trauma encoded, your mind encodes a vast volume of information.
Too much, yes, floods.
But the information that really initiates the trigger can be the thing that you totally focused on. So if you were focused in the foreground, so if you're looking at me, if I triggered you would that would be your primary activation. But also in the background, behind me, I've got cushions and bookshelves and stuff. So whilst you can remove, the trigger of me associated with the experience, if you haven't taken the time to remove the background triggers as well, then those things can come into your vision when you recall the experience.
100%. It's like looking at an outer body experience.
Yeah.
Because the only thing I can see right now of you is your frame. If I turned your frame, now I'm looking at something else, and it might change the whole equation.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes it's easy to, people don't understand trauma enough to appreciate that it's really important to acknowledge everything that the person experiences. People with tics often they have tics as a result of a past trauma,
and somatic markers.
Yeah, and actually you can help people remove that by doing offering the right therapy that targets the particular trauma. And that's what the technique, we've used emotional mindset management approach that you've done with me, which combines havening with other techniques, is to make sure that people remove the whole aspect of that trauma and focus it particularly on that key event or experience if it's been enduring.
Right. One thing that is another person you interviewed is actually my personal trainer, Nazi Khatun.
Oh yeah.
When she started very first working with me, I mean, just to give people a little bit more context, I've sacrificed my health for my wealth at one point in my life, and just because I was focusing on dialed in, and I couldn't work out the way that I used to work out. Obviously, that's being prior military. You would understand what I'm talking about through previous injuries that I had and that occurred in my life. And I couldn't work out that way anymore. And it was so frustrating. And I got to a point, 4 years ago, I quit. I was like, oh, the hell with it, and then I started eating like crap. And then anyways, but I needed a trainer to teach me a different way. And that's something that she applies to the neurochemistry, the neuroscience, obviously with focusing on you first, like self-love. And that she's a huge advocate of self-love. And I love that where she's helped, I'm telling you, she's a diamond in the rough where, I mean, even the Celebrity Trainer episode 2, Mark Jenkins. He's worked with P. Diddy. You see how I'm doing? I can't even know how I'm doing this. Beyonce, Genuine. Remember not Genuine, D'Angelo, the video back in 90 something where his big breakout. He was the guy that obviously helped mold that body. Okay.
Yeah.
He's been involved with just pretty much anybody. Busta Rhymes, Lips Goes Down.
Yeah.
He's been around some pretty predominant individuals. And when he met Nazia for the first time virtually, he was like, whoa, she's big. She's got a live today with Mark Jenkins at 2 p.m. GMT. But that's going to be a one to watch. Winjick Studios. Make sure you do that. You see my little plugs? But I'm getting pretty good at this. But when she was working with me at the beginning, did a consultation, and she did a thing on my shoulders. And it was funny. It was right after we were doing work on havening.
Yeah.
And I was standing straight up. And I have dislocated my right shoulder a few times playing sports back in the day.
Yeah.
But I was tilted on my right side just a little bit. And she picked up on that somatic marker. But her being exposed to so many different types of a wide variety of clients, men and women, she picked up on it. And then she started asking questions. Not that, hey, what happened to your shoulder? She was like, well, that's the injury. That's the excuse that you're telling yourself of what happened. But what are you holding on to?
Yeah.
And I was like, shit. Excuse my language.
And we do hold on to
and now it's gone. Now it's gone. And the weight, and when I was holding on to things, and the weight, everything that I was holding on to just fell right off me.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's mad, isn't it? And I think, people don't take the time to make the connection between the physical pain that they're experiencing to the emotional pain that they've still got stored in their mind. And there is a huge connection. And Dr. Gabor Mate talks a lot about this, is when the body says no, is his book, is how we hold on to trauma
100%
in our bodies because our minds don't have the capacity to hold it. So they store it elsewhere. And I know this from personal experience from having a C-section as well. And I won't go into that, but basically the trauma was, is stored where the cut happens, and also is linked back to my mind as well. And so a lot of chronic pain that people experience is believed to be a result of unresolved psychological trauma.
I would 100% agree with this. 100%.
And so the drugs don't always work because it's not targeting the actual area of pain. And we know from the work I do, a lot of people, and you know from firsthand, is that when you let go of the emotional burden that you're carrying with you, it's like taking off a rucksack.
That's the analogy you used, but I said something else, but we're not going to use the words that I used.
So I think it's really important. And traditional medical science or medicine, the traditional approaches are not enough.
It's not enough.
Help people unchain their pain, because they're very much focused on the expression of pain rather than the root cause of the pain. That's
something that I did not do well with, is therapy, like vocal. And for personal reasons, I think it's because of all the things that we know now today and all the work I've done with people and in companies and the people that I've been exposed to. They were giving me this like Sunday school stuff. And I say Sunday school just to let everyone know, it's just like the bullcrap answers. And they didn't really give me any solutions. They just wanted me to talk about the problem. I'm like, that's the end result. Like, I I
And
need
sometimes you don't want to
solutions.
talk about it.
No, I didn't want to. It was very forced. I feel like I
Yeah.
was on a first date. It was weird. It was like, so let's talk about all the bad shit.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I really don't want to talk
I
about,
really
and
don't
it's
want to
just
talk
going to make
about
me
this.
feel worse.
Yeah, and it was just. And then I walked out of here, and I was like, and then I feel horrible. Now I'm
Yeah.
in depression because
Yeah.
I didn't like it. So that for me, havening was the spot. You know, that was
Yeah.
the one of the key pivotal things that I've experienced in 2021 that I thought that I was actually on a really good path, and I've put in a lot of work in the last 2 years, but that's
Yeah.
something that just put some rocket fuel behind it. And just to kind of go back to what you're saying with the pharmaceutical sales, well, we're in the UK. Well, obviously I'm American, and that's a hard push in America is pharmaceutical sales. They don't have infomercials here like they do in the States. But if
Yeah.
you're up late in the States, you're gonna if you're watching TV,
You
you're
get
gonna get hit
bombarded.
with so much infomercials about if you ever experience blah 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 blah, if you ever experience blah 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 blah, and they're just pushing pharmaceutical stuff, and then and of course and this is a whole other topic, but the doctors, they get paid through obviously these distributors of these pharmaceutical companies to push their product. It's a great movie. It's called Love and Drugs or whatever it's called with Jake Gyllenhaal. If you watch that movie, you'll know what I'm talking about.
No, I haven't watched it, but I will.
That's a great movie. That's a great movie. And they're really, his job as a salesperson is to push the pharmaceutical sales. He was the guy behind the breakout of Viagra and pushing that. I think is it Filter? I can't remember what it's called. But whatever the company is, I can't remember it in the movie. But it's a pretty good story. Of course, they tied into a love part of the movie to make it more obviously easier for people to consume. But if that's a hard push for people, because of what's typically happens when someone has a lot of trauma and unresolved things, how to get to the depression is suppressed emotions. And they're suppressing these emotions that lead to depression and uncomfortable feelings. And they give them something else to mask it by a pill to make them feel happy. And then when the pill wears off, they obviously at nighttime or however the prescription is and whatever the side effects of that drug to your particular body, because you're special and unique, your own little way, you pick up alcohol or you pick up drugs or you pick up something else or run away. It's just fueling the fire.
Yeah. And you know, it's even worse than that because the drugs actually change the chemistry in your brain.
Yes, that's the next funny point.
You have it as a and the drugs have a place to help people over a hump, but it's to help people over a hump whilst they get the right training in place. It's like taking paracetamol, or Tylenol, if from a stateside perspective.
I know what it is now, but yeah,
take Tylenol.
I was like, what is that? That's when the very first time.
Tylenol or paracetamol. Let's take the analogy because we love analogies. If you've cut your knee, you'll take it because it hurts. Okay, so I would give Lily paracetamol, Tylenol, if she's in pain with her knee because she's fallen over and grazed it. But I don't give it to her all the time and keep it going because her body can do the healing. And the same principle applies to your mind, but we forget that is that we have the power to do the healing. And what's happened is the drugs companies, and I'm going to use the word drugs, have almost got to a point where people have become brainwashed that the only solution is drugs. And the consequence of that is that people having their own personal power taken away from them when they have the power to do the healing. But you have to do the deep work. And we talked about this with Jess Lee. You have to do the deep work in order to do the healing. You can't just put a Band-Aid over a gaping wound and expect
it's not going to work.
You have to get the right support. So you have to get a surgeon, to sew you up. So you have to get the right specialist to help you. But the healing is what you do. The surgeon doesn't stay with you all the time.
At all.
And make all of the blood cells and all of the platelets and everything that allows your knee to heal. You do the healing. And the same principle applies with psychological trauma. is we all have the power to heal, but we've got to allow people to tap into that superpower and use drugs appropriately to help people get over that hump. What I find really tragic is when people become dependent on a drug as a crutch for them, because they haven't been given the appropriate therapy to allow them to do the deep work on themselves and to be able to do the healing for themselves. And, you know, there's lots and lots of different types of coaching and therapy. And I prefer coaching personally. But there's lots of different types of support out there for people beyond simply prescription approach. And the same, you know, this isn't just about this issue isn't just about trauma. We can apply the same situation to COVID that we have now.
100%. Man, did you watch it? I don't watch the news, but I watch I obviously see Twitter and some of the memes of Boris Johnson right now. It's like hilarious. I was dying.
Well, I mean, you know, vaccination is the first fix. Same as we talked about is using paracetamol or Tylenol, but it's not the only solution.
No.
And the people that heal are the people that where their immune systems can do the healing. But the vaccination is just there to support your immune system, but it's your immune system that's responsible for doing the healing. And there are many, many steps beyond just the first step. So I've got 10 in my latest blog that people can take to boost their immune system, and they're all within our power to do. But there's very little education that's being put out.
That's not how they make money, though. That's why.
Well, and that's tragic, isn't it? Because you know, people are dying, and we've got the power to educate people, to heal them, and to make a healthier, happier, you know, nation or race, if you want to look at it from a global perspective. But there's very little desire to do that.
There's so many things I want to say right now, and I know that we're on a live, because this is exactly the reason why public figures or people in, you know, that I'm not trying to say that I'm a predominant individual, but you have major celebrities out there scared to say something because they're going to have to now go through a smear campaign by all these other companies. They're going to push the media and change the narrative on what's wrong with them. You've seen it, right? You've seen it what happened with Joe Rogan, and you've seen it happen with Aaron Rodgers, one of the best quarterbacks ever to play. And he mentioned something else, him taking then they go through a smear campaign of what's not being controlled by the media. And I think that's another reason why this show is needed, to educate people in a different perspective, not to talk crap about these other companies. Who cares? I don't care about the government. They're going to do whatever the hell they want to do in the first place. Let's be real. It doesn't really matter to me. What I'm here to do is I need to control me first. And this is where obviously people tend to forget. They focus on everybody else first. You're first. It's like you're going down in a plane. The mask comes down. You got to put on you first.
Yeah, exactly.
And then educate yourself on what feels right. If you listen to your gut, your intuition will tell you everything. This doesn't feel right. If it doesn't feel right, it's a good chance it's not. So whatever was going to work for you. Some other people, they might have allergies. They might have whatever. They don't have a strong immune system. I was luckily in a good situation where I do have a real solid foundation of a great immune system, because I take the vitamin D. I take my fish oil. I take all my obviously vitamins and do the right things. And then most importantly, I'm feeding my brain the right information. And a lot of people don't take the time to do that. And they're pro-vaccine or anti-vax. It doesn't matter to me where you stand. But if you're anti-vaccine, like, what are you taking right now? Are you premeditative? What are you doing?
I hope they're doing the other 9 if they're not.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just because they're going with whomever they look up to in life, and what their stance, is on those.
I always think about this because we kind of think we're invincible, don't we?
Oh,
So
yeah.
I mean, I used to think I was invincible. If you ever watch GoldenEye, where the guy, is in the bunker and he's got his pen, and then he's clicking this pen. It's actually a little bomb that 007 has, and he's one of the.
Okay, this is a great question to ask. What's your favorite James Bond?
Oh gosh,
which one? Was it
Thunderball, I think.
Bronson?
Thunderball. Oh, which is the
yeah, which one? Sean Connery's mine.
Sean Connery.
Yeah, me too. I like Sean Connery. Anyways, sorry. That was my first chance I've ever asked a British person.
Really depicts it, isn't it? But yeah. Anyway, the guy stands up. He says, "Oh, I'm invincible," and then everything explodes. And we kind of think. I used to think I was invincible. I was really fit. Didn't think about the steps that I could take to really improve my health and well-being until I crashed.
Wait a minute, I'm not invisible. I've had that moment in life. And wait a minute.
I'm vulnerable.
Yeah, like, oh, okay. I can die.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're all vulnerable, right?
Yeah.
We all are vulnerable. But we just don't, if we don't take the time to acknowledge where those vulnerabilities are and work on them.
I think that's something, not to cut you off, I think that's something when Charlie Smith, great friend of mine, I love him to death. Yeah. I love him so much. And Charlie, if you're watching this, man, he's one of the top 5 people in my life that I always end up receiving a message. I swear he's got my head on a watch somewhere, like alarm. Like if I'm having a bad day, I get a no sure shit iMessage from Charlie Smith, little voice note. I'm like, how do you know, bro? But I love him to death. He's such a phenomenal human being, inside and out. He actually owns a real rehab center for people, obviously, but that's not what he's pretty predominant individual of obviously commercial real estate. He still does a phenomenally.
Yeah.
He's got his own show. I was on his. I think you've been on his as well.
Yeah. Overcome Out Loud.
Oh man, that's a great show. That's a great show. He's connected to obviously my friends, obviously with Mike Diamond and Meltzer and all these great guys, and they're just phenomenal people inside and out. Just they're trying to impact 1 billion lives, and they're going to do it. And
just sharing my goal this coming year is 10 million, just to let you know.
Okay. Well, now of course it's like, okay, Chris, you got to make sure this happens. But that we haven't even. I was actually on a call with Alpha Hippie Tribe. Have you met them yet? They're phenomenal.
No,
you got to meet them.
I know who they are, but yeah.
Oh yeah, phenomenal people, and they're actually the men's membership for our phenomenal community. And we actually had a call yesterday. I was showing numbers to the website, the analytics and views. Zero. We haven't done any marketing yet because we did it the right way. We're not in a rush. So we were waiting to get everything in line to all the shows coming out, the right way of obviously doing the marketing. And then we turn it on. We had over 96,000 views last month in 30 days on the website. And we haven't done any marketing. Zero. Zilch. And what they were talking about was like, man, this is great. And he goes, I didn't think about, Chris, when you were putting all this together. And I was like, no, I very methodically picked and hand selected the shows and the official partners because I felt not like wanted. I felt that was a missing ingredient and a piece to what people would need. And that's what, obviously what you've done, got Mark Jenkins. Can we talk about Amy? Miss Amy. Oh my gosh. Can we talk about this show? That was, that show got me.
Yeah.
That show got me.
Yeah. So Amy Kardashian, I met her in Las Vegas a couple of years ago, just before I fell pregnant with Lily. And she has a Empowering Humanity TV show out there. And I had no idea of her story. When you meet her, you would never believe the trauma she's been through. But she went through 14 or 17 years of the Lebanese war. And
internal wars too. Yeah, that was a hard one to listen to.
Trauma, from the outset of losing her brother, to sexual abuse, to physical and emotional abuse in the places that she was forced to go to school at, just because of money constraints. And she just shone a light on the having hope. She a bit like gosh, his name's just popped out of my head. Frankel, who talks about the concentration camp, Man's Search for Meaning.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
And she just sees. She defines hope as having open possibilities every day, and her story is so compassionate about her experience and experiences that she's had, because she looks for the lesson in it. And looks for the strength in that experience, whatever it is. And my goodness, she had a lot. She was a child bride at 14 and gave birth to a baby very young. And it's just a phenomenal story of hope, really, that there is always a way out of the darkness. You've just got to, and she. It's called Tears of Hope, because my goodness, did she do a lot of crying, but crying for gratitude of her.
Yeah, different perspective. I think the biggest point of that particular interview was when she was sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
And she was talking the way that she was talking to God. I was like, what? And I haven't. You can't obviously see with the frame, but I have a couple different monitors, but I have a TV on this side, and I watch interviews, like, especially that's what makes me effective in what I do with all the shows that we have. I watch every single one, but I'm not really focusing on the show. And the reason why I do that, because I'm going to watch it when it comes out anyway, but I want to see where something jumps out at me, and I write it down and I come back to it. Just my way. But that part, my attention from what I was working on went from that to watching that, and I rewinded it a couple times to watch her facial expressions and her eyes. Ooh, I was like, ooh, when this one hits. And that was one of the biggest ones when it jumped up. And then Samantha Duran's, there's a laundry list of, obviously, and I don't, how conscious are we on time? And I don't have, I'm good. I'm all right. This is what typically happens, ladies and gentlemen, just for those who are watching this or listening to this. This is what happens when we have our normal conversations each week. Like, we don't get any work done. We just have conversations. We never get anything done. Thank God, to shout out to my staff. Obviously, the staff with Windjet, they do a pretty good job.
No, I think her episode is very poignant, and when he talked about Charlie Smith as well, his one as well. You can tell it was just so tough for him, from the experience he had with his dad.
He shared a little bit more with you than he has on other shows. Obviously, I know him personally. And I've watched him on other shows, and I said, well, you support your friends. You support the people that you have affection for, and you want to see them win. And it's one of my, obviously, I feel that it's one of my superpowers. I really just want people to win. And that when you make that shift in your mind, and you live not just you don't have an abundant mindset, you have an abundant lifestyle, because you live, breathe, and eat and sleep that, and then you align to people that share those core values, and of course you tend to support each other. And I've watched him on other shows, even when I've interviewed him, there's certain things you pulled out of him and he was willing to share. And he's an emotional guy in a good way, because he's given himself permission to feel.
Yeah. And I think that's so important, that we don't do that often enough ourselves, is every emotion is valid. At the start of this show, I started crying because I was talking about my dad. That's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. And it's
good to cry.
Right. It's being okay with it, and not being in it where you feel like you have to put on those masks, and people hiding behind that shit.
Yeah.
When this show, my show, the Win-Win Effect, when I started seeing not even just the astronomical results, but more ambassadorship with people tuning in, is when I started really showing and sharing some of the things that if I've experienced in life through the interviews of me dropping it in the conversations and them wanting to share more, wanting me to share more. And I think that if I didn't have podcasting, Dr. Ruth, during this pandemic or whatever the situation is, I don't think that I would be where I'm at right now. Like if you notice with, and that's one thing I'm really going to be really excited about watching this show take shape and the different types of guests that you're coming on. You start seeing the growth through the interviews and the different types of people that you're attracting into the show based on the interviews that you're actually having.
Yeah.
And I think it's beautiful to watch.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, it's been, for me, it's been a journey. I know it wasn't really on my radar.
You're like, I don't know, Chris.
And I was really nervous because, we all have internal self-talk, and mine's not always that positive. And I know, we always have to, it's a constant work and a battle sometimes to tell ourselves that we are enough. And I thought, I don't know if I'm going to be good enough to do this as a show host, because I like doing it. No, I hated it 2 years ago. I like going on shows, but I didn't think I had it in me to interview people. But how wrong was I?
Oh, you're pretty wrong. The market's telling you. That's for sure. I mean, people, even my mom. We watched the Karen Wright episode.
Oh, Karen!
Oh my gosh!
Goodness. What?
If you want a tearjerker that day, oh my goodness gracious! And it can be. Not to, I hope Karen's not watching this and take offense to what I'm saying. She's got such a great voice and a bright voice. It makes you smile inside.
Yeah.
Some of the things that she was saying, it would actually help in the interview because it was so horrible. And, just like, she had a loss of her daughter, I believe.
She lost her daughter and who died suddenly running on a running race because of a transplant she had fitted to help manage her brain health struggles as epilepsy.
That interview meant a lot to me because I was able to share it with my mother. And for those who don't know my personal story, I lost my older sister when I was 17, and she was mentally handicapped and a lot of challenges, a lot of stuff. And my mom, obviously, and my dad had to experience that, losing a child, but then also in a different perspective of losing a child when she was suffering so much in this world. And I shared that interview, and my mom said something and then came back with, and then what really helped me is, of course, I'm going to look for where I connect with the story, was when she was having a conversation with her other child. And man, because that's what podcasting is doing for people. If I would have had that back in 97 or 98, I didn't know. I was in adolescence. I didn't understand my emotions anyway. And where I felt like I had to be there for my younger sister, and my dad was there for my mom, and just me not getting in trouble or me doing whatever I want to do. I went to the military to run away. That started me on my spiral out. And all I was doing was just running away from emotion because I didn't want to feel
which you can escape because it was inside.
Yeah. So you can't see it. But when she was talking about that with her child, the one that you go through survivor's guilt, and that episode is just wow.
And I think it was really hard because her relationship with the family dynamic was really destructive at the time.
Yes.
So the children weren't given the opportunity to feel. And when the guard came down, and they were allowed to express their emotions and the pain and the suffering and the sadness and everything, it allowed them that opportunity. And I think this is not something that is we're not over this this desire for people to shut themselves down. There's still this perception in the world that that's the way that you get on with life, is you keep calm and carry on. But actually, keeping calm on the surface is, you've got a swan, it's like a swan, but their legs are going frantically underneath, and eventually they run out of energy.
Yeah, you just don't,
and collapse. And they might look beautiful on the surface, but my goodness, there's a lot of work going on underneath, in the mind, in terms of the pain. And we need to allow people that opportunity, to that safe haven for people to unchain their pain.
There was not an interview. There's a commercial by Chick-fil-A, and I know that. Do you know the company? You've been in the States quite a few times.
I have. I probably would do if I looked at it on the internet.
So shout out Chick-fil-A. Love you guys. I miss you. Come to the UK, please. There was a phenomenal commercial. It talked about everyone has a story. Let me write this down. This one, if I send you this,
yeah,
you're gonna lose it. But the commercial was talking about everyone has a story, but no one really takes the time to really understand what people are going through.
Yeah.
There's someone is right now is having another human experience. We're just divine spirit. Just a quote to, I think it was Fallon Jordan, another great episode. She works with Dr. Amen Clinics. She's a phenomenal person.
She's amazing.
I don't know any of these people other than the ones that I've obviously worked with in the past, and I love these people. I was like, wow, this is great. I can't wait to connect once I start getting out this busy life. But we're just divine spirit, just having a human experience, and it's so true if you look at it that way.
Yeah.
So true.
And we're only on this planet for a short, very, very short, minutia period of time.
There's only three or four. There's only about 3 generations. Yeah, there's only 3 generations. Not to cut you off. There's only 2 to 3 generations, depending on the level of impact on what you leave the world.
Yeah.
That they're going to remember.
Yeah. Yeah.
So think about that for a second. We're not that important, but we're important to ourselves. We're supposed to be. So stop living life and being in a counter-reactive mode.
Yeah.
And at some point in our lives, we can form.
Yeah.
And if you're lucky, you get an opportunity to wake up.
Yeah. And some people, if we're talking about guests coming up, Eric P. Granger, who's putting.
Oh, that was great. When I watched that one too, the early access.
Putting Amy Kardashian's book Tears of Hope into a movie. He decided. Later on in his life, that he wanted to do something that he was really passionate and was fulfilled his purpose, and that was driven by his constraints that he was having from a physical perspective, allowing him to then leverage his cognitive or mental capacity to thrive. And has won phenomenal awards at the Cannes Film Festival and all sorts. And I think, that's a real testament to the importance of us living, towards our core values, and living passionately and doing things that we're passionate about, and doing things purposefully, because our life is so short. And this is really connecting with your core. So that's one of the 5 pillars, the third pillar, connection. It is really making sure that the time we do have, we use it in a really constructive, not destructive way. And my dad had he had a really lovely life. My dad, brought up wonderful children, grandchildren, and so on, and also loved his life as an engineer. And loved doing the writing of Peter Pixie stories, which
he's an entertainer too. Yeah, it was.
And honestly, those pictures mustn't be published, does it? And he was a real entertainer, in amateur dramatics, and perhaps that's where I've got some of my lack of fear from, in terms of going on camera. So yeah, I think it's just important that we live our life, and live it.
You can even so, like with you having a show now, and this actually brings to a good question. You having a show now, do you feel that it's giving you a chance to discover more about what you really truly do with people?
Honestly, Chris, I had no idea the shift that would happen in me.
Mm.
Personally, I was talking to my husband about this recently. I always been fearful of connecting with people because of my
Yeah.
past trauma, because I didn't trust people, and all of those barriers have really dropped now in the
Mm-hmm.
show, and also I'm not afraid to just be me on the
Yeah.
show. And I think I've had a fear of showing up as me because of things that people have said in the past that I've played over and over in my mind again and
Mm-hmm. It's
again.
easy to do. I've done the
To
same.
be careful what you listen to, including your own thoughts. And it's been brilliant. Honestly, it's been the best decision I made this year, I would say, in
Oh.
terms of personal growth, because I've had to get out of my comfort zone, and really listen to people
Mm.
in the way that I do with my clients, in a very compassionate, calming way, and that's how I want to show up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been brilliant, and it's what's been wonderful is the fact that it's opened the opportunity for more people to be willing to share their story. We have Mike McCarthy
Oh
coming up,
yeah. Wow. Yeah.
who is award-winning journalist, broadcaster, talking about the story of his son. We've got Louise Carmi, who's an amazing friend, talking about her struggle with her stroke on her brain health journey. Philip McGowan, who's Philip Alexander, who's talking about his journey as in brain health and depression. And we've got lots more doctors lined up coming up. Dr. Cynthia Liebert, who is going to be talking about Alzheimer's disease.
That was a big one. Yeah.
There's no stone that will go unturned on this show, and we talked about Fallon earlier, and Fallon's show was episode was really show-stopping.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the journey that she shares of her past trauma experience, both from a concussion perspective and also from a sexual abuse perspective,
Yeah.
and how that really shaped her brain, the activity in her brain, and how she was fortunate enough to get the right help, the right support, which is what we do now at the Wellbeing Warrior Academy. Is we've got the right specialists behind the academy to help people really
It's like
truly
bridging the gap.
unchain their pain.
Right. And that's another reason, another key driving force behind why this all came about with Windjet and what we're bringing to the marketplace. What I've essentially done is building a platform that allows people to help more people, and through also even the exposure. There's some things happening with the website in the back end of this. I know that you've seen some of it, but not all of it. We're getting the last little bits and pieces together for the app is going to be coming out in middle of February. It'll be launching. So the website will be pretty much potentially a afterthought just for the blog posts and all this other stuff to drive people in. But the app is where it's going to be. And it's a lot of educational services that you have, and in bridging that gap and giving people an opportunity to really be on a show and not have to sell through a show. There's so many shows that I listen to, and they spend the first 7 minutes or in the last 5 minutes talking about their services, and it disconnects the audience from the conversation that's supposed to be happening. And, and I think, and it's just a Russ Johns. I think it was episode 9. I was looking through my iPad over here. If you saw my eyes going, but I was looking for Russ Johns. He's a community leader of Winject Studios, and his story was just, whoa.
Yeah, he went through a whole roller coaster of pain.
Whoa, and still got a smile on his face.
Yeah, like honest that, you know, losing his son, his loss of his job, massive trauma, you know,
Divorce.
physically
He broke his back. Yeah. Wasn't supposed to walk ever.
Yeah.
I was like, he wasn't even supposed to ride his right arm. He wasn't going to use his right arm ever again.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, that's a really good example. His story is a really good example of be careful who you listen to.
Yeah.
But, you know, from a medical
professional. Say that again. Say that again.
Be careful who you listen to. Because, you know, when I talked about this earlier, people will steal your personal power by the conversation they have with you. Don't let them steal it. You have the power to heal yourself. We are an extraordinary, we are the most advanced species on this planet. We have an extraordinary power within ourselves to do amazing things. And that's all driven through our brain. And he did not listen, thank goodness, to what the specialists were saying, as many of my other guests who have really unchained their pain haven't done either, and said, no, I am going to win this battle. I am going to walk again. You know, Louise Carmi is another example on a show coming up in the new year about what she would and wouldn't be able to do.
I had a chance to listen to that one yesterday. I'm telling you, just like the list of people that you have, and there's some of the people, and forgive me, there's some of them I wouldn't know their names, and I think that's actually helped me because I don't have my own attachment to that person, and those are the ones I have no. I'm like, I'll have to rewind it. There was an FBI agent one you had,
Christopher Freeze, he's coming out.
I was like, well, sir, we need to have a conversation.
And he takes a really different perspective on, you know, he's witnessed an awful lot of trauma in his colleagues and so on. And he takes a very different perspective of what brain health is, but obviously through his lens, from his experience. And he'll be talking about the importance of trust, which is fundamental to...
that's just any foundation you look at. It's built off of trust.
His is an exciting episode coming out. We also have Michael Unbroken, yet to be recorded. He's coming out next year.
Tima. I love Tima.
Lots happening next year. It's going to be really exciting. I'm really looking forward to bringing some big names to the show, as we've already had, and some really different perspectives.
It's going to be fun to watch, and even more so, I think it's going to be a little bit more fun for me because obviously part of figuring out how to display this, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as we move on. And
we're having a quiz, which we talked about.
Oh, quiz. Okay, yes, I'm excited. I love games. So who's going to do it? You're going to ask me questions, and then
I can ask you questions now. I know we've not prepared it, but you know, when we go into series 2 next year, that's when you'll hear the quiz master Ruth will.
Right. I would suggest not using quiz. When you said quiz, I thought I went back to like 5th grade, and like 5th grade on a Friday, I'm like, damn.
The fun facts of
there it is. Fun facts, basically. Fun facts.
So we're going to work through the 5 pillars of brain health, and there's a question for each of them. So I'm just going to fire you with the first question.
Okay.
So as we said, facts is the 5 pillars: feelings, actions, connections, thoughts, and surroundings. So feelings. This is the first one. First question: what is the funniest or most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to you?
I'm trying to think of the first one that popped in my head. I go back to there's a clip of me. I think I was probably like 5, maybe it was probably older than that because my sister was like walking around, you know, barely walking. So it had to have been like 6 of me jump roping, trying to jump rope. And for those who know me personally, I'm pretty athletic. I got a good hand-eye coordination. I couldn't jump rope and that video was shown obviously to people that like my neighbors and people around us at one point when I was home for Christmas. This is back in like 2010-ish or 12. So I can't remember who was there and showing me, and it was the most embarrassing, but it was funniest. I was dying laughing. A video of me trying to jump rope. If I find that, I'll have to get. We're gonna take those videos and try to put it on a obviously different, like obviously digital. But yeah, that was
Yeah.
probably the funniest. It's the first thing that popped in my brain.
Yeah, the funniest thing for me, I was thinking about this morning, is my husband and I, he wasn't my husband's boyfriend at the time, we went on a military expedition to Greenland to climb some unclimbed peaks. And we were being hosted by the Inuits in Greenland. And there was like a huge gathering of people in a big hall to welcome us to this event. And while we were all sitting there, my husband started the Happy Birthday song. And pointed to me. It was not even my birthday. Like, there was no birthday on the horizon whatsoever. And they'd obviously heard the Happy Birthday song. So I had to go and stand on the chair at the front of the building and have Happy Birthday sung to me in English and in their own native language. And had to pretend it was my birthday for the entire duration.
Did you get cake?
It did take, but and
no, I'm saying, did you get cake?
I've heard this story that I've never told this one before, but my husband actually had to buy me a birthday present as a consequence.
Good for you.
And I ended up having 3 because he did it twice on that trip at another event in.
Good for you.
Yeah.
See the angle of opportunity there. It's always one somewhere. I need a present.
Yeah,
where's my present?
Hugely embarrassing and incredibly funny all at the same time.
That's really cool. I mean, it's good that did you put up a fight or did you embrace it completely?
Well, when you're surrounded by brigadiers and there's kind of no way out. You just kind of had to.
Yeah, right. It's like, well, it's my birthday today.
Here I am.
Yeah, live life is your birthday every day, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, that was very funny. Anyway, yeah, so that's going to be coming up on the show next. Is some fun facts around brain health for people who are guests on the show, and just to spice it up a bit and have some fun.
Yeah, it's all about having, it's giving people, different segments, and obviously the show takes shape as it goes through, but you have to really take the time. Because I see this a lot with podcasters or people that are trying to leverage podcasting, or they're just having conversations and they'll never talk to the guests ever again. And then they don't even do their editing, they don't do any follow-ups, they don't do any of that stuff. And they're having conversations. You can definitely tell in the first 5 to 7 minutes if you enjoy doing this.
Yeah.
I do. I love it. I know you can tell. You can tell. And because my favorite part actually is the first part of when you start every show, because you're so excited. And you're excited for every single one.
I'm sitting on an exercise ball here. Most of it's not always.
You bounce. You get excited. She's like, "Oh my God, I'm so excited!" You forget you're actually having a show. It's fun.
Yeah, and I'm excited for the future of the show.
Yeah.
We've achieved a lot, and I can't really take much credit for this because I had no concept what was really going to happen. But to achieve 1 million downloads for me before Christmas in just 12 episodes, I think is, just
that number 12. Yeah, for you.
Huge thank you to all those that are listening to the show, that have downloaded it. All my guests that have, that have been on the show so far, and I'm really excited for the guests that are coming up as well. Mm-hmm. And this show is not, it's just not about me. This is about giving people the opportunity to learn how they can unchain their pain and to know they're not alone, to know that other people have been through that journey and come out the other side. And there is always hope, and there is always help out there for you, and amazing opportunities on the other side of that darkness.
It is.
Because someone's always waiting for you on the other side. And for me, they might not even be born yet. And that was Lily for me. So, continue to have that hope, having open possibilities every day.
That's such a powerful point. I think going to Nazia's, I think she hit the nail on the head. The ending question you usually hit people with is like, what advice would you give individuals on a brain health perspective, if I'm just paraphrasing here? And she's like, like you're not alone, and you have something else to give. You have something else to do.
Someone needs you.
Yes, someone needs you.
Yeah.
And it's not even the people that you've actually met now, it's just in the future. Think
Yeah.
about the future self. If you've the people that you could impact in this world. I can go on for years about this topic because it's one of the topics that I'm most passionate about in life. It's just everything's going to pass.
Mm-hmm.
Even the good times, they're going to pass. Nothing lasts.
Mm.
Just wait it out.
Mm. Mm.
Sometimes just get to the point to where you're not exposed, you're not being hurt, and nothing can hurt you, and just wait it out.
Mm.
And you mentioned looking for help and seeking help. What's available is only by how strong you feel about trying to get to the solution.
Mm.
You will find it. We are resourceful people.
Mm. Mm.
We are very resourceful people.
Yeah. And we're not, I'm not going to profess to be the answer to everything, but if people are in a lot of pain and they do need help, then I'm always on the end of a phone, on the end of message.
No, you're so accessible to people, and I love that about you. But you're
Yeah.
not you're approachable, but you're not too accessible. But you make it accessible for them to want to obviously do it. It's not jammed down their throat, right?
No.
And I think that's so true. So most people, like even through the holidays, you talked about your surroundings and the times and
Yeah.
events and the 5 pillars. For the holidays can be a very hard time for individuals that maybe potentially had an event happen in their life that brings up emotions that they normally wouldn't feel at that time.
Right. And so straight after the holidays, we run coaching weekly, and it will be on from the beginning of January. I do have to have a break, but it'll be on from the beginning of January. If people want some help to unchain their pain, we do coaching every week. You can dip in and have a session, or you can have one-on-one sessions with me like you've done yourself, or you can go for group coaching, and it's not, you're not expected to talk about. I'm not going to force anybody to talk about stuff they don't want to. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you have to do the unchaining of the pain to be able to talk about it.
Right.
And that's what those sessions are there for, is to allow people to be able to talk about their trauma, if that is going to serve them. If it's not going to serve them, you don't have to talk about it in the first place. Mm-hmm. And so we're always there for people if they need support.
There was something that you said to me during my session with you, mm-hmm. and it triggered me to be open because I didn't know what to expect. And I think just kind of for people out there that are tuning in that are going to have these feelings, I'm pretty, I don't really have a lot of fear going into certain situations. I feel like I can take anything and overcome, but I still was holding on to. And you said one thing, you said, even if you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to talk about it. And I just want it to come to you. And we can sit here for as long as that happens, and even for future sessions or whatever that might be. But I'm here to allow you to feel. And I was like, whoa. And it was something on a nurturing level it's like something my mom would tell me. Like, we don't have to do anything. We can just be here, right?
Just be.
And something clicked in my mind. And there's a recording of that, and it was just like it felt like someone like opened up a valve, and it was it was one of the most impactful moments that I've had in my life.
Wow, thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And I think it's important people do have that, that is safe haven, that emotional safety, that emotional blanket to just feel.
I still, even right now, went back to that. I was started a haven, but it's important. And nowadays, when I think back to that memory, it doesn't give me the same emotion.
Yeah.
At all. But then for people that are also tuning into this, the episodes that are already recorded for Dr. Ruth are available inside the community. It's one of the things that we're going to be working with. The exclusive content offers inside the community. So if anybody wants to watch early access to Dr. Ruth's show, go to our page. I believe it is archive/brain health.
Brain health, yeah.
Yeah, we need to start editing, obviously, some of this stuff. And now that the website and everything has been coded to your, obviously, links and your pages and all those things, it's so exciting. I'm so excited to be able to show the world what we've been working on, because it's something that's never been done. That's why I know it's going to work. Never been done before. So it's just early access. Some of the community things that you'll be doing inside the community exclusively for our community. It's going to be fun to watch. There's so much great things are happening. But thank you for having me on. And in our episode, me laying on a couch. That's going to be fun.
And what anybody listening to this live, just, or following up, just message us if you want to have particular guests, if you want particular topics to be covered. Just message myself or Winjet Chris. And we'll just make sure we cover those off. We have a huge list of topics to be covered next year, and we'll do our very best to address your needs and make sure we give you really good educational content and stories that will help you really unchain your pain.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. Are you going to push the buttons on my side, or
I'll push the buttons?
Okay, yeah, because I didn't want to do it perpetually. Yeah, no, it was a pleasure. It was all mine. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays. Be well, be you, be great. Peace out. Much love. Take care.
Peace out.
Thank you, Doc. Peace.
Cast is brought to you by Wincheck Studios. We are an all-in-one educational platform for podcasters that revolutionizes how hosts leverage content to increase engagement with listeners, downloads, and income. We come together to focus on community, collaboration, and collective impact. For more information on how you can interact directly with our hosts, access exclusive live content with offers you can't get anywhere else from our official partners, join our purpose-driven community by visiting www.winject.com. If you're ready to build a career doing what you love, then we're ready to see you there.